When I first saw this used Fender Stratocaster in the store, it looked to be nice and shiny, and I couldn't find anything that I considered a fatal error. I couldn't find any major dings, the neck looked straight, and everything seemed to work on it. So I figured with a little work on my part, I could save some money and wind up with a decent playing Strat in the process. This is my first encounter with locking tuning machines, and I'm getting to like these things. If you're not familiar with locking tuning machines, you turn these knobs on the back and that locks the string in the peg. You don't have to have that big tail sticking out when you're first winding the strings on, and you don't have to wind so much of the string on the peg. I'm not a real big fan of black guitars, but this one's still nice and shiny, doesn't have any major nicks in it, so it looks pretty good. And whenever I see these pearloid, or whatever you call it, chip guards, it makes me think that they're using parts off an accordion to make this thing. I've never considered not having a tremolo on a guitar to be a deal breaker, and that could be a good thing because I think all of the problems with this guitar center around this tremolo. The springs are set up for a floating tremolo, or one that you can move the handle up or down, but that may be why this thing won't go back into tune. I decided to tighten the springs enough to get that tremolo block back on the body when it's relaxed, and we'll see if that helps matters any. And here, after adjusting the springs, you can still dive the springs easily pushing the handle down. You just can't do it pulling the handle up. But we're going to leave it like that for now. I pretty much lose interest in the tremolo after the first couple of minutes anyway. While tuning the Strat, every now and then I'd notice a pang that was coming from the nut where the string was catching and releasing. Having the nut holding tension on either side of itself is never going to work for tuning the guitar or setting the intonation. The only good answer is to replace the nut, which I did, and there's a full story on that elsewhere on this site. After replacing the nut with the super slick one from Graphtec, I could return to tuning the guitar and setting the intonation. Now we're not getting any pings from the nut, and it seems like the Strat is holding the tune just fine. With my changing the tremolo block so it leans back against the body, we're going to have to change intonation anyway, but it seemed to be way off when I got the guitar. I spent about 20 minutes setting the intonation, but it dialed in pretty easily. And when I plugged it in, the open chords down near the nut sounded much better, so we've got the intonation better. And we're not getting any more buzzing off of the frets. All of the pickups seem to be working well, and the 5-position switch is giving us different tones in each position. I've also increased the neck relief to about 10 thousandths, which is the Fender spec for this type of guitar, and lowered the string action just a bit, and it seems to play just fine. And now with the springs tightened up a bunch, it seems to stay in tune a lot better after using the tremolo. When I first got this guitar, if I would have done that and then went back to playing, it would have sounded awful. So right now I'm not going to do any more to the Strat. I just spend a little time getting used to it so I get a better feel for how it plays and what it sounds like. Then later on we'll see about adding some hotter pickups to it, maybe some new electronics, and maybe a new tremolo, you never know.